Hey there, health fans. This is Travis Robbins from the Physical Resilience Outlook. I'm here with Nick and Dan, my faithful companions through this adventure. And today we're going to talk about the first test that we have, which is the bar hang. Dan, before we tested this out in the clinic, when was the last time you spent some time hanging out on a bar?
It was probably about a year before that since I
Yeah.
actually tested it. But
Yeah, I would imagine some people listening right now maybe haven't done that in years, several years, or maybe since they were kids and they were on a jungle gym. I don't even know if they allow those anymore. But bar hang, why is this important, Nick? As you remember before from our previous podcast that we did, we had to kind of narrow this down. We had a ton of them, like narrowing them down, 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 down. Why did this one make the cut? Why is it important?
The two biggest things here would probably be grip strength and just the ability to get your arms up overhead. Uh, so grip strength, we've started alluding to it in the first podcast, but again, grip strength doesn't come by just like taking a gripper and just squeezing away on it. No, it comes by holding on to things, holding on to your body weight, picking things up, just actually gripping things and having to hold on to heavy stuff for a while. So this is a great way to train that. And then overhead mobility, overhead strength. Rarely do people, and I'm just again doing it intentionally now. Like, how often do people put their arms up overhead? You asked before, like, how often do, or when's the last time you hung from a bar? Well, people, sure, maybe if they take a glass, they'll set it up in the pantry, but very rarely are people just spending extended periods of time as well, with their arms up overhead. And doing research for this, actually, I had a lot of fun because there were three pretty big name players in the move. I'm going to just call it movement industry, that have recommendations for them. One is Dr. Kirsch, who actually wrote a book on this. He's an orthopedic surgeon who prescribes people hanging over on a bar for at least 90 seconds a day. Other guys like Tommy John, he says like 5 minutes a day, and I think Ido Portal says like 7 minutes a day. So some of these are getting longer, but these guys are masters of movement and what they do. So yeah, it's amazing for you.
Yeah, I think, that spills into the next thing we talk about is why do we lose this as we age? You kind of talked about that. It's because it's very easy to go through normal everyday activity and not get your arms overhead, let alone hang from a bar. And if you have any kind of understanding of orthopedics or anatomy, it kind of makes a ton of sense that if you hang from a bar for a short period of time over the extent of your life, you're probably not going to lose that motion, or it actually becomes kind of like a check engine thing where if you cannot do that, it's like, why can't I do that? So Dan, talk about that when you're doing this testing with people. What are the reasons why, or some common reasons why they can't do a bar hang at all, or can only do it for a few seconds?
most people are going to struggle the most with just getting in that position, like arms all the way overhead, and then adding like your body weight, tractioning the shoulder joint there. A lot of people, that's going to be painful, um, or they just won't have the strength to get in that position. So that'll also give them pain to try to hold it for more than a couple seconds. You'll see them unlock their elbows to try to compensate and all kinds of things like that.
And I think as we go through the other movements, some of them it's going to be difficult for someone who's in front of you to have an argument against this being something in their movement ability. Sometimes a bar hang, I hear some people saying like, "Well, I can't hang from a bar. Like, who cares? Like, I don't. Do I really need to do that? What are some of if you cannot hang from a bar? How is that going to represent itself functionally, like in your normal work or at home environment, Nick?"
I look at it a lot as a posture, right? Like if you can't do it, part of it is because you just spend time in terrible posture. You're hunched over, your head's forward, so you just have trouble getting to that position. So now, as you lose that, like you can't do again. It's minimal tasks, right? So sometimes, like, well, we talked like we always go back to the people traveling, right, and putting luggage in overhead, and that's a higher load one that some people just don't even have to do. So say, okay, I don't have to do that. Okay, well, changing light bulbs, right? Like I said, putting like the dishes away. So there's things that seem very simple, uh, but oddly enough, like we're recording this shortly after the holidays, and I even have a patient who was talking to me like on Christmas, she has to make sure that some member of her family is still around when she's cleaning up because she can't put the plates away by herself. She just keeps down what she needs during the day. And now, again, she's in her upper 80s. She's very short to begin with. So things that are challenging, but those are actually very practical things that she can't spend extended time with her arms over her head.
Okay, so we know why we got to do it. What does the setup and the actual tests look like, Dan?
So all you have to do for the actual test, if you have a pull-up bar or something similar at home, that's great. You can use that. If not, you can get a little creative. Any like tree branch, something thick enough that you can hold on to that'll support your weight. Just try to hang from that. Can even be something lower if you're starting not with like a full overhead hang, but hanging at a little more of an angle just to work on the grip and just start building into that overhead position. This one you can get creative, but a pull-up bar is the easiest way to go.
Yeah, not everybody has a pull-up bar at home, but for the most part, you can try to find this. And hopefully, we've told you enough about it and kind of sold you on the fact that you want to have this posture, that it might be something that you want to invest to. But if you worked pretty hard, or you would have to work very hard to find some kind of bar somewhere around. I mean, we work at a PT clinic, so those bars are all over the place, but you could find a bar somewhere. So don't let that be a limiting factor. Let's talk about the actual testing, Dan. So how do you score this movement in terms of ages and time?
So ideally, you're finding the bar. Once your feet comes off the ground, you can start the timer. The goal weight for like the youngest age category is 2 minutes, and then you'll get a score anywhere you get into there. Like as long as you can hang for a little bit, you'll get at least a 1 out of 10 on that score, and then it just goes up from there. You want to ideally hang with the shoulders relaxed. Don't want the elbows bent. Um, yeah, and then at every age group, it might go down a little bit, but grip strength shouldn't decline too much as you age, so it won't change too much on this one.
So the age groups that we put people into are ages 20 to 39. As you get into the 40 to 59 group, then we would expect a little bit less in terms of your ability to do it. 60 to
Not in this case.
79.
Not in this
Well, oh
case,
yeah.
Travis. This
Oh,
one
not in that
actually
one?
does stay the same. Yeah,
Stays the
for that
same.
age group as well.
Okay. Then 60 to 79, and then 80 and above. So to give you an idea, if you're 40 to 49 years old, to get 10 points out of this, right? So each of the movements or tests have a 10-point total. There's 10 of them. That adds up to 100. In order to get a 10 of that, you have to hang on the bar for 2 minutes, age 40 to 59. If you can hang on it for at least 5 seconds, you get 1 point. So, and all this information will be found wherever you are listening to this or watching it. You can find it below. But yeah, that's the point system. So we're trying to find out, give you a score and give you kind of a measure of where you are in this specific activity so that you can improve on that. And we give you tools to do that. So when does this test stop, Nick? Like if we're doing this test with someone, when do we stop the test?
First and foremost is pain. So you might be able to still technically hang on to the bar, but if you can't do so in a pain-free manner, stop. It's not going to be beneficial. Like there's something that needs to be cleaned up there before you keep going. Otherwise, you're probably going to hurt yourself more, unfortunately. But other than that, it's when your foot touches the floor, right? When you let go of that bar and you touch, time is done.
Okay. So you gotta have a stopwatch. You time that. As long as you do it without pain, you just take your time. That's your score. And then what does your score mean? Dan, if I am 45 and I can hang for 10 seconds and that's it, I can do it without pain, but that's all I can do. What would that indicate?
If you can hang for 10 seconds and you don't have pain, like you have the range of motion to get your arms overhead, but you don't really have the strength and endurance, whether it's through your grip or through your lats, somewhere you would really benefit from some type of lifting just to have more capacity when you're working in that range.
Okay. So maybe you're someone that doesn't have a physically strenuous job, and you don't do any physically strenuous activity at home in terms of yard work or other recreational activities. That would indicate to me if you can't hang for that long, you're just not picking up heavy things very much, I would imagine. And Nick agrees with me. So to improve this movement, Dan, let's talk about some of the programming stuff. So let's say I scored in the middle. I'm average for my age for a bar hang. what are some specific things that you would tell me to? You gave us general stuff like, hey man, pick up heavier stuff every once in a while, and that will definitely help out. What are some more specific things that people would work on?
If you fall in that like middle scoring range, you're going to start with that means you're probably getting at least 30 to 45 seconds on the hanging already. So you're going to start with some shorter sets just to build up that endurance there. Your program would also have probably some like rowing movements like bent over rows or cable rows, whatever you have access to, just to build up that strength in the back. And then probably some like carry type movement to build that grip strength.
Okay. Nick, what do you think other things that people could do? Nick is really good at getting you to work out in your normal everyday activity versus specific stuff that you would have to set time away for. What are some things that people could do as like a hack to improve their hang time?
So if you're talking just like that practical kind of stuff, just because somebody said this week and really had me thinking, like, her husband said he carried in cases of water from the car, right? Uh, and she goes, yeah, I don't know why he didn't just empty it out and put it into bags so it was smaller things. I was thinking like this is the perfect example of like carrying that case of water in, like you're having to hang on to something that's going to be physically taxing both for your grip, right? But now you're walking with it, you're carrying that load. So it can be something like that, right? Where you're doing that. Or when she even said like put it into bags, it's like, yeah, carrying the groceries. And here's where, okay, maybe it doesn't work if you have 6 bags of groceries, but if you have 2 bags of groceries, put the cart away once you check out and carry your bags out to the cart, right? Here are just ways where Dan was talking like doing weighted carries, just ways that you can build this into your day.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really important. Just kind of automatically putting stuff in there. So here's the motivation part. We've still got someone's listening and like, yeah, okay, it makes sense. But do I really need to hang overhead? Like, is that a skill that I need to, if I don't have it, acquire it as I get older, or I'm pretty good at it now? What's the point of continuing to be good at that as I get older? What are some things that you would say to someone to kind of motivate them to kind of put this on your radar? I think that example you gave at the beginning, Nick, where it's like, yeah, if you hang up from a bar for 90 seconds a day, like, wow, your shoulder mobility, your posture, your grip strength is going to be so much better. And it's
Orthopedic
such,
surgeon is telling you that you're not going to need surgery to do
how
this. Like that
about
says a
that?
lot
There you
right
go.
there. That
Yeah,
says a
yeah.
lot right there.
If you can do that, then you will not need shoulder surgery ever. 90 seconds a day. So it's such a great example of like it's just a small amount of investment. It's not easy to do. You have to kind of remember it and do it. But it's we're not telling you to work out for, an hour to do this. You just have to kind of hang. And even I would bet that if you didn't do it every day, but you did it every other day, or you at least did it, once a week or a couple of times a year, which is more than most people are doing it, you'd still get some benefit from it. But what is something that you would tell someone, Dan, that would say, yeah, I don't think this is that important as I get older?
Oh, it might be specific for them if they don't have any like goals or like don't travel a lot where they don't need to reach overhead. It's fine. If they have like persistent shoulder pain throughout the day, I would say it's one of the biggest things you can do to keep them healthy, just to keep all those like postural muscles opened up looser. It's just going to prevent a lot of pain down the road, I would say.
There you go. Pain prevention. People are into that, right? Not wanting to have surgery. I know anybody that's had a shoulder surgery and said, wow, that's a really enjoyable experience. So if you want to avoid shoulder surgery, if you want to avoid pain in the future, and you just want to be strong and mobile and be able to do things as you get older, then a bar hang is something that you should test periodically, see where you're at. If you're having pain with it, then that becomes an issue where there could be an underlying injury there that you're kind of working around that you needed to get taken care of. So obviously stop it with pain. But besides that, it's something that you want to try to incorporate into what you're doing. All right. Anything else you guys want to add on bar hang before we sign off here?
Yeah, if you want to just be competitive, say I beat you on this one. Come
There,
on,
there you go.
some people just want to win.
Leaderboard, family leaderboard. You can
Yeah,
put it up at home. That's good
absolutely.
too. Dan likes that. All right, health fans, thanks for listening. And here's to better aging through better understanding.